Hey guys, I hope everybody is having a fantastic day. Whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I am glad you're here. If you would and you're so inclined, please hit the subscribe button below and hit the bell notification if you'd like to know when I upload new videos or when I go live. Today I wanted to do kind of like a companion video to a video I did last week talking about slicey knives, but I wanted to focus on 10 knives out of my collection that are very slicey but are budget knives. So when we talk about budget knives, in my category, a budget knife falls from $100 and under. So some of these knives are going to be close to $100. Some of these knives will be well under $50. The purpose of pointing these out is they are all budget knives. They are all very, very slicey and have great blade geometry. They're all knives that I really enjoy and that I pull out to do some slicing when I want to get my slice on. So the first one we'll talk about is this Kubey KU122, which is recently, according to Amazon, been named the Coeus, which is spelled C-O-E-U-S. So I don't know if that's Coeus or Coeus or how they pronounce it. Don't really care. It's always been the KU122 to me. G10 handles on top of steel liners with, standoffs, and they do sit proud. It's not a thick knife. It's not a heavy knife. There is weight relief in those scales. A liner lock that has really good lockup. And it does have a Lee style blade that attracted me to the knife in the first place. It was the look of the knife. And then upon getting it and seeing how thick it was, we'll just do, I don't have a lot of paper, so we'll do quick little slice tests so you can hear the sound of the knife going through the paper. But it is very, very slicey. Whether you're slicing fruit, whether you're slicing cardboard, whether you're getting into packages, this little knife is just really up for the task. And again, it's very fidgety. It's got great detent. It's got pop when you want to get that reverse flick, which is really, besides the thumb flick, there is no flipper. There is no top flipper. You've got the thumb flick, you've got the middle finger flick or the reverse flick, and then you've got the slow roll, if that's what you're into. But the Kubey KU122 has a nice little steel pocket clip that works very well. It's flexible, but yet has good retention. Not a lot of bad things to say about this knife. And when I was checking Amazon tonight for D2 for this exact model, I want to say it came in right around $48.95. So that is the Kubey KU122. It's the first knife in my 10 very slicey budget knives, and these are in no particular order. They are just 10 really slicey budget knives. So moving on, we'll look at a knife that we've looked at several times on the channel for different reasons, but it is the Vosteed Racoon. The Vosteed Racoon is 14C28N. It is a button lock. It's had a little bit of controversy with it suffering from lock failure. My particular specimen's tight, but there were obviously some bad ones that got out there. Has a real tall satin grind with a very, very slicey edge, guys. I've recently touched up all the edges because they've all been working through a lot of cardboard. But the Vosteed Racoon has some nice, kind of waxy micarta, but it's still very nice. Has a stainless steel pocket clip that goes in and out of pocket very nicely. Has a very nice blade shape. I kind of look at that and think it's a little bit of a drop point, maybe a spear point. Has a little bit of sheep's foot feeling to it. I don't know why that is. Does have a nice sharpening choil that allows me to get up to that in front of what it would be my normal grip. If I want to choke up on the knife, the jimping holds me there. If I want to do more detailed cuts, but we'll take a real quick slice with this bad boy. And again, it is very slicey, sharpened up very well. The 14C28N really burrs up well. smooths out. I left them all probably around a 600 grit with the F240 stone, I want to say, Veneve. But this is just a really nice knife. Know that they're coming out with a liner lock version of this. I know Vosteed's very receptive to the problems that this knife ran into with some of the reviewers and some people getting less than perfect ones. But in terms of knives that have my specimen, not only performs fantastically as a cutter, but it's very fidgety. It's got great detent for a button lock. And I just think it's a winner, and I'm glad Vosteed has turned around and offering this in a liner lock, and are going to revisit the button lock to see what was going on there. I hope they continue to offer as a button lock because it's a great knife. It'll be in my collection for a while. Moving on, we will look at a knife from CMB. This is the CMB Predator. It is in kind of a red, a barn red micarta. Has something that we're going to see a lot of in these knives, a steel pocket clip that works very well. This micarta is very smooth, which I don't necessarily see as a bad thing. It goes in and out of pocket very well. It is a bar style lock or axis style lock. You'll notice this D2 blade is very, very pointy. It's a drop point, or it could be a spear point too. Has a nice swedge here at the top of the blade, black thumb studs. The springs just suck it in and give it really good detent. The way that they handle this sharpening choil is ingenious. It is, again, a very slicey D2 blade with a very generous sharpening choil. And we will get our paper out and we'll check out our little coupon slice test. Whoops. And for a budget knife, guys, this is very slicey. And one thing that I forgot to do, because I always do these on the fly, and it's kind of late or early in the morning when I'm recording this, I did not give the price of the Vosteed Racoon. So I'm going to pull it back in for 1 second. Pretend we haven't talked about that one. And the Vosteed Racoon comes in right around 60 bucks. I want to say it was $59.95 at White Mountain Knives. That's before the 10% Lefty 10 or Tri-State 10 or anybody else that's one of our brothers that has a code there before you use that code. So again, medium budget knife. So back to the CMB Predator, which just sliced very, very well. Has very even grind, nice stonewash blade, a little bit thick, which I don't see that necessarily as a bad thing. It's not going to carry like a light bug out, but it is going to carry like a medium-sized, good, stable work pocket knife with a very ample blade, but that terminates down to a very sharp point. And just a really great edge and great cutting geometry. And the CMB Predator comes in at right under $65. I want to say it's $64.95. You can find it at White Mountain Knives when they're in stock. You can find it at, what's the name of that? Hell, I forgot. Try Blue Creek Knives. Try Google. That's a good place to try. But if you find it at White Mountain Knives, of course, that's before the 10% discount code, which will give you a few more bucks off. And that is the CMB Predator. One of my favorite budget knives, a really good budget knife, and just a great cutter. And this is a great feather sticker. It's cut just about everything. Moving on, we will come to an old favorite, the Civivi Riffle. I've done overviews of this knife. I've not done my full review on it, but I will, because I've put now several edges on it. It does have a really nice little sharpening choil there. I've still got several more sharpenings that I can use on that, even if I want to lay the edge back. I've got it at about 17 degrees right now per side. It has a nice opening in this 14C 28N blade. It does also have a flipper, so it is a flipper knife, traditional flipper, but I use the reverse flick just because it's the way I open knives. You can also thumb flick it, which I missed there, or you can slow roll it if you want to, or you can just use this flipper tab here and push button it, or light switch it, middle finger flick it. It's got a fantastic detent, has a very nice pocket clip, and it's got that waxy micarta that we're kind of seeing on all these specimens tonight. But again, I don't see it as a negative. It's smooth in the hand, it's comfortable, and it works. And then when we talk about, you really don't hear the knife going through the material. It is just 17 degrees again. All these knives are sharpened at 17 degrees, which wasn't much off the factory bevel. They were a little bit reprofiled, but not much, just to where they cut the way I like them to cut. And the Civivi Riffle is a very, very slicey knife. It's also a good budget knife. It's a $65 knife that you can pick up at any of the retailers. You can go to White Mountain Knives, you can pick it up, take another 10% off, use Tri-State 10 or Lefty 10, and get you just a really good work knife that is just a fantastic slicer. I do warn you, you do not want to baton with this knife. Lefty EDC did a video where he did baton with this knife, and he's an idiot, and he was whacking it right here and broke it. So outside of batoning with it, and I believe if you use common sense, you could baton with this knife and not smash it. But I love Lefty, you know I'm kidding. Anyway, there's a video of him smashing it. You ought to go watch it. The Civivi Riffle, it's an oldie but a goodie. I would recommend it or any of these knives for anybody that's looking for a budget slicer that does a good job. And that moves us on to the next knife, which used to be closer to a $100 knife, and it's going to come in on the higher end, but it is now a $75 knife in Nitro V and G10. This is the Ferrum Forge Stinger. It is a Ferrum Forge design. It is what I think is just a great knife. It's always been one of my favorites, so much so that I've got it in titanium. This is my first version, the G10. It's got some oil on the blade. Let's wipe that off. Well, that might be a little water from where I sharpened it. Again, all these are freshly sharpened at 17 degrees. But the common denominator of all these very slicey knives is the blade geometry, and it does have fantastic blade geometry. This is a very thin knife, as are all Ferrum Forge knives, and that's why I love this budget line of Ferrum Forge knives. I can get a regular 4-finger grip there. I've got a full usable finger choil. I've got a very thin knife. I'm talking bug out thin with great action. A flipper tab that works great, this very non-pocket pecker, and then I've got a fuller that I can use to reverse flick this knife with ease. The G10's comfortable in the hand, has just enough grip, and it is a very, very slicey knife. I'll try not to cut my my hand, but I can even do little just carvings or whittlings of, but that makes more of a mess. But anyway, that is the Ferrum Forge Stinger. You can pick this knife up for right around 75 bucks. I won't leave links in my description, but I will leave these knives that I've gone through that I've selected as 10 fantastic slicers out of my collection. Keep in mind, guys, I'm not having knives sent to me. These are knives that literally I bought, I paid for, I bought them because I liked them, and yeah, they're legit. So any of these that I'm showing you guys, I would gladly tell you in person that I recommend it, that it's a good knife, that served me well, that if you're looking for something that does what these knives do, i.e. cut, these are good choices. So the Ferrum Forge Stinger at 75 bucks before you use a discount code, I think is a great value. If you don't like the Ferrum Forge Stinger, they have other knives like the Prolex and the Archbishop if you're looking for something small with the same blade stock, same geometry, still very slicey knives. And that's the Stinger. And we will continue to move on to our much and most budgety knife in this list, but this list would not be complete without it. This is the Sencur Acrium. The Sencur Acrium is a really great full-size knife made out of G10, made out of D2 for the steel. These still have soap on the blades. Sorry about that, guys, because they all did get touched up on the stone on the TS Prof. So let's see how this one cuts. This is a hollow grind, and it slices very well. It's a deep hollow grind on this D2. I've had no issues with this D2 at all. Either sharpening it sharpens well, it burrs up very nicely, comes to a very keen edge. I've cut a lot of cardboard with this knife. I like the poon on this knife because it's just very comfortable in hand. Guys, this knife is under $40. This is a $39 knife. And I see a lot of reviewers talking about budget knives and all the budget knives that are just, it's raining budget knives if you haven't noticed. There are new companies coming out every day. Sencur is one of those new companies. They're a Civivi company, a Wii company, but I don't see why you would need to explore much further than the Sencur Acrium if you were looking for a fantastic $40 or under knife. I would probably give this top props to any of my friends who are looking for one, because it is that good of a knife. Again, you get a hollow grind, you get thumb studs, you get flipper tab, multiple deployments, you get G10, get a good clip, and you get what I think is a pretty attractive looking knife. So that's the Sencur Acrium coming in at under 40 bucks, and it is a fantastic slicer. So let's look at a unique banana knife. I don't have a banana to compare it to, but to me it looks like a banana. This is the Vosteed, the second Vosteed on this 10 slicey knives segment of Javon's knife flicks. But this guy's is a tall flat grind. I think of it kind of as a leafy shaped blade, not the leaf in the traditional sense. Think of it kind of like a banana, but it is, like I say, just a shredder. It pulls the material towards it. This is kind of a nasty coupon. Let's see what happened to that one. Let's get this one here. So the Nightshade has very thin behind the edge geometry. Again, it's sharpened at 17 degrees. It is needs a little strop drag, because I did hear, not the fault of the knife, not the fault of the geometry, blame the sharpener on that one. I did hear and feel just a little bit of a burr there. But if you look at the thickness or lack thereof of this blade, the thinness of this blade, where the jimping is, the sharpening choil is adequate. It is a flipper only knife, but it has fantastic detent. And I've learned that in my videos, squirrel brain jump off here, I say fantastic way too fucking much, and I'm going to work on that and try to come up with another adjective to describe my glee when I have a knife that I think hits the mark. So the detent on this knife really hits the mark. We'll try that. So the Vosteed Nightshade, very slicey, very economical, comes in at about $72 list in G10 and 154 CM. So you're getting good blade steel, good materials, good pocket clip, nice ergonomics, feels fantastic in the hand, almost like an extension of your hand. And you go to White Mountain Knives, you put in Lefty 10 or Tri-State 10 or somebody else 10, and you'll get 10% off that, which is what, $7.20. So that brings it down in the low 60s. Great knife, guys. The Vosteed Nightshade. Moving on, we come to a knife that we've talked about before, and it was my budget knife of 2022. It is the Divo Growler. I won't spend a lot of time on it. It is roughly 85 bucks. Take 10% off at White Mountain Knives because they're the only one that carries it. It's Divo Knives, Lefty's knife. It's one of the sliciest knives in my collection. It has not been sharpened by me. It has not needed a sharpening. It is 14C28N, and it's just got a very tall, flat ground blade with just a really nice edge on it. I don't know what degree it's sharpened to. I've not laid it back to 17. I'm going to say it's more like probably 18 and a half. But guys, this has got bite. It has got slice, and it just really just digs into material. I can't say enough about it. It's a cardboard destroyer. Probably the sliciest knife, even though I'm not going to grade these on the list. It's going to go to the Divo Growler. It's just a beast. It will slice any shit you need to slice up, and I'm a fan. Like I said in every video that I've said with it, I can't wait till they come out with a premium version. I will be in line for it. Moving on to the 9th knife in our little slicey budget knives here. It is the Sencur Spiro. Guys, this is a G10 Asher, one of the earlier ones, an S35VN. This knife's probably not available unless you go to the secondary. On the primary, when I bought it new, it was $75. Probably one of the best values in budget knives because you get premium materials, nice G10, nice stone-washed S35VN blade steel. This one is sharpened to a 17-degree grind or edge bevel. It is super slicey, and the reason I brought this knife out, even though it's not currently in production, is Asher Knives is putting out knives constantly. There are some that are still G10 that are under $100, but there's some that are full titanium, like the Spiro titanium that's right over $100. But all of the blade geometry on every Asher knife that I've had, and I've had a bunch of them, is fantastic. They're very slicey. I would have been remiss had I left the Asher Spiro off this 10 slicey budget knives. And you can pick these up, check NAF sale, check the secondary, check the Google, reach out to Asher Knives on Instagram, and just put a message out to Justin and see if he's got any of these. That's how I've gotten every one of my Asher Knives, guys. I have gotten them through Instagram, through asking and then asking again. But this is the Asher Spiro. Great knife, G10, fantastic action, thin blade, very slicey. Finally, we will move to the Liang Ma's budget company, the Eutektic, which is the name of the company, and this is the Trinity. It is, the things I don't like about it is it, like the other knives, has that very waxy micarta, and this is probably the waxiest of all of them. What I do like about it is the blade, is the way that it sharpens up. It's very wet because, again, this one just did get a sharpening. I'll have to oil all these up before I put them away. Let's just get the water off of it. This knife was 85 bucks. And it is a slicing machine. It has a tall, flat grind. Comes down to now, what is a 17-degree edge. Probably started off at about 18. Has a fantastic sharpening choil, which there goes fantastic again, which is also a finger choil. I would say this is a full-size knife. It is a flipper with the middle finger deployment. It's also a top flipper, which I can't do. I don't know why. It's just something I can't get to operate. And when I was with Leon at the show where I bought this, which is Blade Show Atlanta, he could stand there and flip it. He says, I just think about it too much. He would just literally reach up and it would open. I can't make it do that. But the good news is I don't care to make it do that because I don't care about front flippers. I'm a reverse flicker. And the Liang Ma Eutektic, or if we want to leave Liang out of it since he's catching some grief, we'll just call this the Eutektic Trinity. And there'll be several other models that come out. And one thing about these particular knives that is consistent through all of his designs is it is a very slicey knife. It is a very good value. It's in D2. It's under $90. And yeah, guys, very slicey knife. So hopefully this was helpful, and this will shed some light on some knives that you might have that you might not have been exposed to, because they're not all very popular budget knives. There's some alternatives to some of the knives that you probably see out there every day, and I'll list them in the description. Then you can Google them and find the best place to pick them up if you want to pick them up. But guys, most importantly, I'm glad that you came by and watched the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I ask that you look out for the guy or gal to your left, look out for the guy or gal to your right, move forward with love in your heart, choose debate over hate. Until we meet again, peace.